Society is now in session.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody at the Bad Idea Society? It is episode number 6. We're here with Hank Howard and a little save now, a little impromptu dollar comic and episode. This is going to be a fantastic show, but it's not just me. Got a couple people part of this society meeting together. And as usual, we got the Moose.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Doing great, man. Good to see you. You know, glad you got a new ride and your car's, out of the junkyard or in the junkyard.
It's going tomorrow, man. I'm so excited. And they're paying me $80 to haul that thing away. It doesn't run, sweet. And they're still paying me $80. So I'm taking my wife out for sushi tomorrow night. This
might only be a Northwest joke, Pacific Northwest, but did you call like 1-800-CARS for kids?
You know, I did, yeah.
Okay, good. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. But it's not just us, man, and we got somebody else that's really big on society. He's big in the comic society. He's you guys have known his face. You probably know his voice. It is Sean. How you doing, man?
What's up? It is good to be here with you two gentlemen. I am thrilled to be here. So to talk about some of my favorite books right now. So
you're killing me, fantastic. Gentlemen. I don't know the last time
I'm starting off polite. Don't worry, I'll get worse. I promise.
Good.
Yes.
That is awesome. Well, guys, this is Sean. You guys need to make sure you follow him at Bad Deacon and check out Overthinking the Bad.
Overthinking the Bad. Yeah, that's my weird experimental podcast that I'm doing, where I'm doing wacky stuff to try to find interesting, fun ways to talk about comics.
Yeah, I like it so far. I mean, I was just kind of like you and I believe it's your wife, and the interpretations and the acting. It's a good little thing, man.
Well, thank you.
So definitely, everybody go check that out. It's definitely some fun for sure. And so yeah, we're a couple weeks in with or a couple months in with Bad Idea now, and me and Moose have talked quite a bit about it. You know, what's your take on everything so far?
It's really strange. That's my take on it. Everything is really strange. And I can't put my finger on like a cohesive line to this line of books. It seems to be about let's make fun comics that we like making. That really seems like, as far as I can tell, what the mission statement is of Bad Idea. And that's really cool. I really, really enjoy that because it's just, it doesn't seem like there's any like mandates, no editorial mandates other than just making really cool, really fun comics that can be about whatever you want, whether it's serious spy espionage, the world's about to blow up, to who broke into the safe in this pizza joint, and everything in between. And that has been just really fun to see. It's something where I feel like I'm always going to enjoy what they put out. And they've got awesome talent. So I'm kind of I feel like I'm on the roller coaster and going with the ups and downs, but I don't have the whole picture of the roller coaster yet. And that's really kind of cool.
You know, it absolutely is. And case in point is you look at everything that's come out, you've seen some things that tie certain things together, and you're like, okay, could this be cohesive? Could this be a universe where all this stuff happens and we're going to, at the end of these first 4 books and all these one-shots, we're going to get to, Santa Claus is a bad guy and all this. And then you get this Hank Howard pizza detective and you wonder, what the hell does this have to do with anything we've read so far? I mean, you could totally see how, Whalesville, it can fit in a kind of kid perspective, but, this pizza book, really? But then you read it and you're just like, you know what? It just doesn't matter. You're entertained and you get that 50s, the 50s movies, maybe even go back further, where you got you got the music, the light kind of bluesy music and the single talker, and he's just describing everything that's going on. And I don't know how you guys read it, but that's totally what was going on in my mind. I even had the blues playing in the background of my mind. There's a lot of space there because there's not much break.
Right? Yeah, there's a lot with everything that we're getting, and it is. You're right. It's a bunch of dudes sitting around saying, "Hey, why don't we do that?" And and there's like a why not type of response. It seems like it's, you know what, hey, let's do it. And that's kind of the big thing, right? All in on Bad Idea, right? And so that's kind of the thing, is enjoying these items. If you're not all in, you're probably going to miss out on some great things that you probably wouldn't think you would like, right? It's showing up for the horror movie and getting a comedy, right? But yet laughing your ass off throughout the whole thing. And that's kind of I feel like what you're getting here is you're showing up for a certain show, but you're getting something totally different and you're loving it.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing. And I know, Moose, you had some crazy theories on some of your other things. Let's jump to that afterwards. I want end of these books.
Hold on to them, because I want to know. Sean, I want to know what you think about this stuff, and I want to know what other people think about this. I want to know what the world thinks about this, because I so badly want to know. We're going to get to it. I just want to know. I have this desire to know, and my brain has just been going nonstop since the end of ENIAC 3. Nonstop.
Yeah.
So
I want to get into some theories.
So,
at the end, towards the end, after we get through Hank Howard, the Pizza Detective, and Caligula's Safe and Save Now. So some awesome things. But before we go further, I want to do this little warning, this alert, this bell, this horn. That way you can't blame us if you didn't read the book. It's a spoiler alert. So read the books. So time to ruin the crap out of them, guys. What do we think? Let me get some of this up. Again, fantastic art on covers. That's one thing we've been talking about a lot on just the presentation of these books. Continue just to be amazing. Cardstock, all of the stuff all the way around. Yeah. What's your feel on that? I mean, I know it's probably going to be good, but.
Well, I love the fact that they are doing the spot gloss on every single color of every single cover. That part of them are printed matte, part of them have these glossy bits printed on them. Like looking at the cover of Pizza Detective here, all the characters have gloss over them, but the background doesn't. And so it just is this extra little touch that just makes it pop and feel like something really unique and special. Because I think having all gloss would look pretty cool. Having all matte would look pretty cool. But having it mixed and match and being like so precisely adding to the artwork, that's just a really, really killer touch.
Yeah, and the Caesar in the back being matte like that, absolutely.
And I think much like we had our first call for Bad Idea t-shirts with the end on the back of, was that Tankers 1?
Tankers 1.
That melting face looking thing. We got our first plushie or whatever you want to call it. I want that guy. I want that bear, that Caesar bear. I saw that guy and I'm like, that is so badass. I want that. Sword and everything. It just, it has nothing to do with the story. It sticks out and I love it. I thought it was fantastic. And then you got all the characters, much like you said, Sean. Nobody necessarily highlighted, but they're all right there. They're all important pieces. And Caesar standing at the top with his thumbs up.
Yep. Yeah, but give shout out to this team. Rob Venditti doing the writing on this one. Dave I hate saying his name, Lapham, and just giving off some more of that Stray Bullets vibe, which is amazing. And then Jose Villarribia doing the colors, at least on the cover. And I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but Warren tweeted out some images of this book. And it was colored, and I don't know.
That's so cool.
I don't know whether if the color was better or if it's that just straight black and white. So
I'm a sucker for black and white, but flashback to that color again. Maybe because I'm so used to black and white that there's always something black and white in each one of these books. I'm kind of on that color. It's very simple, but there's enough brightness there because it's supposed to be dark. It's all supposed to happen at night, but there's enough color there that it's enjoyable. It's fantastic. I don't know which way to go with that. I don't know which way.
I do like how pimply faced that little brat looks in the colored version. It's interesting because I'm used to David Lapham's artwork being black and white. especially recently. Ever since the 90s, everything he's put out on his own has been black and white. So to me, that feels like the natural state for his artwork. So seeing it colored is a little strange to me, but I'm kind of with you there. I'm kind of digging the colors on this.
Yeah. It's tough, because that's smooth.
Right.
I mean, I'm a sucker for black and white, and use your imagination to fill in the color yourself. But yeah, I mean, even down to the 5 o'clock shadow, and it makes it feel like I was talking about before, where you set that movie back in the 50s or whenever, where you have the single narrator and the blues playing in the background. And then you get the color, and it just kind of adds to it. It's something that, I don't know, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have dug it if this was in color. I would have dug this.
I don't think there was a wrong way either way.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately phenomenal looking either way. The work is just, it's great. And I don't know, either one of you guys want to sum up what this little 8-page story was?
Go ahead, Sean.
All right. So Hank Howard is a private eye, and he kind of always has to worry about where his next paycheck is going to come from until he gets in the pizza business as a private eye and has to find out what happened to the contents of the safe at Caligula's Pizza number 200 and something. I don't have that number off the top of my head. He thinks it's the pimply-eyed brat, and he goes hard on him, and then he finds out that maybe it's not him, and maybe it was much more of an insidious inside job.
Or was it?
Oh, or was it? Well, I think, to me, I feel like this story is very much saying that it was the manager that did it, right? It was the manager with her boyfriend that set this all up.
Yeah.
And
all except for that very last page, one of the last page you're seeing on the screen here, where the kid's sitting there, looks like he's playing a video game, chilling out at home, almost like he kind of got away with it a little bit.
Interesting.
I mean, it kind of left it up for question, is what because they do have the pimply kid kind of sitting on his beanbag in his room, just chilling, playing a video game. Maybe he bought a new video game with what he stole. I don't know.
Yeah.
He is there sitting there butt naked with no pants on, though.
I noticed that too. Dude's got no pants on. He's just sitting there butt naked, or he's, I guess, butt naked on a beanbag. I mean, can you ask for more?
Hey,
pizza.
You do that, chilling out to some Eric B. and Rakim, that's the way to do it, I guess. See, I got the feeling that this encounter with Hank Howard kind of maybe broke him out of his shell, where he was somebody who never would have even thought of doing anything wrong. But now maybe he's thinking, wait a minute, maybe I could do something, maybe I could do a little no good like my manager did there. So that's the way I read it. But now that you mentioned that, I'm starting to doubt my own reading of this.
Right. And I think that's what's kind of fun about a little mystery book like this, right? Is you feel like it's been resolved, but yet it leaves a door, a crack, something open for more. I feel like that's something that I go back to what, the creative teams that we've known here, they do such a good job of leaving the door cracked to allowing for the thought to happen, and then potentially for another part 2 or more to come from it. So, and I've always kind of dug that about them. And either way, it doesn't take away from the story, either way how it goes. And I kind of like what you're saying. Maybe this picks this guy into something that you never would have thought. And now that he's been accused for it, he's like, hey, why not? Maybe I can get away with it if I continue what I'm doing. So good thought.
Yeah.
I
just like the overconfidence, almost cockiness that this private detective has. It's, he's so dead set on this kid, and then stumbles across the manager, and then of course goes, just like he goes at the kid, goes at her probably full bore. We don't know. And then even in the end, like you said, it could be the kid's like, okay, well, I can get away with this if I do this, or the whole fact where I did get away with it. I kind of like that I did get away with it because it really leans heavy on this private detective's overconfidence in his ability to solve this silly little crime. I mean, right off the bat, the police would have already fingered the manager. You know, that would have been the number one go-to. The kid would have been shaken down. They probably would have, at least searched his house, But the overconfidence in this guy, he's like, oh, okay, the kid didn't do it. Just go on. I'm done with you. And then, snares up the manager. If this kid did do it, and I really hope he did, I find it an even better story.
Well, and then the mom, how he got into the mom, about how the mom was. That was kind of cool. I did dig that. I mean, he went after the mom in the whole issue as well. And I thought that was pretty good. So, and then I don't know what there's more for this, but it was fun. I mean, for $1, and this was only half of it, so only half.
Yeah. I mean, for $1, you couldn't go wrong. I spent more in gas.
That's sad.
Yep.
Question for you, Moose. So you're thinking we want the kid to get away with it. If he got away with it, it means Hank Howard kind of sucks as a detective.
I think he sucks as a detective anyways.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's what I wanted to ask
That's what
about.
I'm saying. No, I think he's overconfident and overcocky, and and he's just, honestly, I think he's there. He realizes this is a cush job. I really don't have to do too much investigating. I get all the free pizza and soda that I can buy. Well, not free because he gets to deduct their employee discount, which is silly. But I mean, you see him trying so hard to be a cop with the bright light, trying so hard to be a detective, and he's just a private investigator. And it reeks of that classic guy who tried to be a cop but couldn't be a cop, so he became a private detective, and he's not even a good private detective. I don't know. That's just kind of what I picked up from it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just want the kid to get away with it, which would be great.
So you're like completely making me reevaluate my reading, because the first time I read this thing, I thought of this as Hank Howard is this super confident or super competent private eye that just, due to his bad luck, finds himself in the pizza industry of all things, but that he applies his incredible competency to solving crimes to just pizza crimes, which is stupid and awesome, right? It's both those things at the same time.
Yeah.
But you're making me rethink it now.
Yeah,
maybe he isn't as good as he thinks he is.
Yeah. If you think back in I mean, even those noir style books or movies, excuse me, the detective isn't even a great detective. I think back to Moonlighting, where it was Bruce Willis, and he was a private detective. I think we're going back into the early 80s. I remember watching that stuff, early to mid 80s. And I just remember him not being and maybe I'm thinking of something totally different, but he's not a great detective. But through sheer dumb luck, he stumbles into solving the crime. But it's not because he's competent. That's kind of the way I feel about this guy. He looks stern and he's got the tie, but he's not good at his job. At least I don't think so, because if he were good at his job, why would he be doing pizza? Why would he be a pizza detective, which is the most silliest, over the top, wonderful story that I could ever want. It's just fantastic.
Absolutely. And what's his origin story? What, like you were saying, was he a cop that just couldn't hack it? Was he a cop that did something wrong? Was he on the take? How does he know? And then that play, like I said, getting in with the play of the mom, going in on her being the single mom. I would love to see just more of this guy and it's like his sleaze. I feel like there's a little bit of sleaze to him, and and yet that seriousness, right? That seriousness that he comes in there, and then that competence that you were talking about, I definitely dig it. So there's a lot to uncover just with a little story like this.
6 pages, with 6 pages. It's so great because with 6 pages, your imagination can still go completely in a different direction. I mean, 3 different guys, and we all went kind of a different direction with everything that we read. So, But it's just 6 pages. That's what's so silly. It's just 6 pages of a story.
So the thing that I find most interesting, I think, about this story is thinking about the setting and the fact that in this world, it's a perfectly normal thing for a chain of pizzas to have a private eye. And so what does that tell me about the world in which this takes place? It's not normal. I don't think most small regional pizza chains have, their own private detective to investigate petty crimes that happen in their stores.
Well, there's at least 248 of them.
Yes, there are. So it's a pretty big chain.
Yeah, it's a big chain. It's Pizza Hut, or Domino's or something like that. And I would imagine they have somebody, but he probably is bigger things than somebody breaking a safe open.
See, it makes me think that maybe in this world, the pizza business is much more sinister of a business than it is in our world.
Much more serious.
Yeah, much more high stakes, something like that.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Snow Crash, if you've ever read that book, where it's a future where all the pizza chains are run by the mafia.
Right.
Right. That is the type of situation where they would have private detectives to go track down all these cases.
Yeah. And I love where you're going with that too, because you do go back to right here where it's also looking at the classified ads, right? Classified ads haven't really been a thing to look for a job in a damn long time. So if it's current, that's funny, because who looks for a job with a classified ad anymore? Number, and then you go back to, I was just watching Casino the other day, and the mob is there in Kansas running in the deli, right? And so you have this, the mob and the family in the deli. So is it a little bit more sinister? Is it a little bit more of a inside mafia job happening with the the Italians, and their pizza, with a little, the Italians, So yeah, I'm right there. I dig it. I dig that. That's a good one.
And it does make me wonder also, if we're going to entertain the thought of all of these being in a shared universe, I think of this along with Greenleaf Oil and what they're doing in tankers, that this is a world where corporations are up to shenanigans to a degree unheard of in our world, where our corporate shenanigans are just dirty and cruel and greedy, but these are just some very bizarre corporate shenanigans going on in this world.
Now I want to go back through tankers, because that seems to have the most little spoilers in there in each book. But I want to go back through all of them and see if I can't find a pizza box. I want to go find it now. I'm going to have to find some time to do that, because that's going to start driving me nuts. I'm going to start thinking about it. See if I can't find this connection.
There's got to be. Well, if you guys were to score up this little book here, what are you going with, Moose? What's going to lead us off there?
It's 6 pages, and it's, how do you rate 6 pages? It's tough, but as the three of us have dove into this book, we all see something different, and it's just 6 pages. I keep going to that because you get a darn good story out of this little bit of paper. I thought it was great. The art is it's good. I would say the art for me is about a 4.25. Now that I see the color, I'm close to bumping it up to 4.5. The story is a solid 4.5. I love that we can allow our imaginations to really run wild on this story.
Awesome. What about you, Sean?
I think that I would bake up this pie to I'm wavering between a 4 and a 4.5. So I guess I'm going to say 4.25 pepperoni tamos to bring back something from my podcasting days. And if I had to make one complaint, it would only be that I feel like it's a little abrupt, the ending. It feels like it's this story that's gearing up to, I think it's all about this kid, but maybe there's more going on. Oh yeah, the manager did it, done. If this was twice as long and he could have shown the story of shifting gears and pegging down, I wanted to see that manager pulled back under the heat lamp and see that part of the investigation going on. So that would be my only complaint, which I guess is a positive. It left me wanting more, and I didn't get the more that I was left wanting. So I guess my complaint is, in a way, actually technically a good thing about the book.
I just want to know why this kid doesn't have pants on.
Well, that gets you into mine. Since Sean brought out a Tamos, I think I'm going to call this little hand tossed on a beanbag Tamos, if he gets the drift. But I'm gonna be right there, and I have to go with it 4.25 as well. That's kind of where I'm sitting at. Again, probably the only thing that really lowers it is that it was so short, right?
Yeah.
If it was longer, if there was a little bit more to it, this existence and knowing the bigger picture, if there even is a bigger picture. I mean, if there was a bigger picture, it would cause it to go up. If there's not, doesn't cause it to go down though. So yeah, but little 4.25 action on Hank Howard, the pizza dick.
All right.
Next up, in I don't know how you can't love a Louis LaRosa cover, and especially this one when it really makes you want to learn more about who this is in Save Now. But Matt Kindt writing, Tomas Giorello on art. Yes, the Exo Manowar Volume 1 is back again with Diego Rodriguez as well, doing the colors. Dave Sharp on letters. Then Louis LaRosa doing the cover. That's just like Exo Volume 1 of that run with Diego Rodriguez doing colors there. And I do give shout out for this logo. I believe that's George Monalago, or is that who did the back cover? That's who did the back cover, George Monalago. Ultimately, this thing looks beautiful, man.
I really like how Save shows you the rewind.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just in the image, you don't get it until you read it. But just in that little bit, Save Now, it's kind of cool because much like the story says, it's like a video game reset. So it's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah, Scott Scugucci did it. Is the logo, which I think that's very fitting.
Cool. Yeah.
So
it's very, very cool.
One thing I like is that all of these get different logos and different presentations. There is no bad idea cover layout that exists. Right. They're all different. Each one is different. Each one looks different. The logo's in different places. They're using artwork in different ways. That is very nice. Yeah, it's an awesome cover. I wish we got more of this character in the story because he is gnarly.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, she brushes her teeth well. I mean, she's got really good chompers. I mean, look at those teeth. The teeth gum line. I mean, I would expect a witch to have some colored, blacked out teeth. You know, at least not have that gum line be so solid. That is spot on.
Flossing daily works wonders.
Yeah,
right. And we say we want to see her more. Let's know that we have her a to be continued at the end of this. And then Moose, will you give us a little rundown of this one?
Yeah, so we're introduced to a group of what you might call superheroes. And the one main guy who doesn't necessarily get involved in the fighting is a guy by the name of Saver, or as he's become known as Savior. And what happens is somebody dies, somebody gets hurt, or it doesn't go right. He can rewind back to a save point and restart again and try and find a different way. The only thing is everybody in the team, it's their first time. For him, it could be his 100th time. And every minute he has to relive. There's no fast forward. He also ages in the entire book. So the more he goes through, the longer he goes, the more, the older, I should say, that he gets. In the end, they wind up in an apocalypse with no idea why, the team wanting him to rewind, and him saying he's done it over and over and over again, and there's no resolution.
Yeah. What do we got? We got Deep Fake, Spear, Numb, and Saver. And it is a really cool idea, right? Like this book could go, this could be a big ongoing book. This could be a huge shared universe superhero, maybe, hopefully, possibly. But the concept of this, I love the way they really dig deep into this guy, how he can do that, and yet that there is a consequence to his using the powers. What was 15 minutes for somebody was 10 hours for me. And I've aged. And if you keep doing that for a certain amount of time, whether it's this one time where he's done it 100 times, but it's ultimately a huge, piece to where this guy on the outside looking in is going to look like he's like this aging quick, right? He's like, to a degree, like this Benjamin Button dude who ages like a son of a gun. And he's just, hopefully wise because of the time. But it also makes him look really good, even though he might be really shitty, it sounds like, where he can do something 100 times to finally figure out who it was the one time. But hey, it plays a good role. It's an interesting power, and it's not a speedster doing it like the Flash. So I'm in for this. And then, of course, Diego Rodriguez and with Tomas Giorello on pencils is going to be a phenomenal looking interior book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love the palette with those two together and just how it works out. And it did give me such that first issue of Exo with all those huge machinery up in Planet Gorn. It gave some really cool callbacks to that, and it was a little bit of that nostalgia there, but with a total new take on a new story.
So there's two things that come to mind for me. Along the lines of him always aging, I do like that towards the end they show him with the gray hair on the sides to indicate that even though it says it's only 1 year later, for him, it's probably 10 to 20 years later because of how many times he's gone back. He says he keeps going back and back and back, and he's tried it so many times to try to avoid whatever it is that's happened from happening. The other thing that I think is really interesting, and they just kind of touch on this a little bit, is how horrifying it must be that he has to watch his friends and teammates die over and over and over and over again. But in the end, they don't actually die. So it's just got to be this weird psychological thing where he goes through this trauma of watching people die, but then knowing, well, actually, I can undo this at any time. And man, what weight that must put on him to know somebody just died. I could undo it, but if I do undo it, am I doing the right thing? That's a whole lot of psychological mess going on in his head that I imagine. And I think they touch on that a little bit, but you can really, it was enough to kind of spark it in my mind to think through, oh man, this would be really intense.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, I was going to say, especially when you think about, just in terms of the butterfly effect, right? And I like the kind of idea that he only goes back short times, but has there been times where he's gone back like, okay, you know what? I actually am going to go back 3 years ago and redo those last 3 years. Is it always the last hour, the last 2 hours, the last 20 minutes that he's going back and making these changes? Where did he learn that, oh man, I went back 3 years and I had to make this change. And I saw what happened, in year 2 when I went back 3 years ago, and it's totally different because his mind's keeping all of these memories. Like you say, he's witnessed people die and they're alive again. And so that sorrow, that relief, that just, like you said, the psychological effect is just phenomenal that he's probably having to go through. That could be really, dove in really well when it comes to a story aspect of this.
I think one of these pictures you got there, no, not this one, flick forward one, would you? Yes, there you go, bottom right-hand corner. You can see as his team crashes and dies, there's that look. And I remember seeing this, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, John. As soon as you started doing that, I'm like, oh, and that you had this, because my mind went to that image. Okay, there's that trauma that you're talking about, that he watched humans die. So he has to come up with a new strategy, but he's trying desperately not to get them killed. So, I think that one little square right there tells you a ton. And when we flash forward and he says, I'm not doing it anymore, you have to think that part of the reason that he's not doing it anymore, one, is he can't figure it out. But two, the trauma is just kind of blurring together for him. And, it just becomes too much to watch his friends die over and over and over again. It's got to weigh heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that was very much one of the panels that I picked up on where that really pointed that out to me. Yeah, we both dialed in on that.
Yeah, and it gives you crazy theories, right? What is it causing this, right? And my crazy theory here is going to be, could it be somebody from another book called ENIAC? Maybe the thing of ENIAC that is seeing this destined thing, no matter how it calculates, no matter how it comes out, that it's a destined ENIAC conclusion.
So I'm wondering, though, if this is a world where ENIAC even exists. If it is, okay, then we've got something different. If it's in the same universe. But the way that I see things is, because we have time travel shown in tankers, do we necessarily have the same universes? And with Saber here now being able to rewind in these small little time jumps backwards, do we have just one single universe, or is it branching out? Are we seeing instances or stories where we're going to have a collision where full-on stories will then come together from separate universes? That's where I kind of pick up this is, I don't think in this, because would he stand for an elemental witch being able to do things that he can't control? Because to me, I think the elemental witch is the key figure. Thus, this image, she is the key figure behind the story. And even though you only see her in 3 panels, 2 of them being shadowed,
yeah,
she's the key figure behind this whole thing.
Yeah, that's interesting that they put her on the cover when she has such a minor role. I mean, it's not just because she makes a melting face look really good, as you said there, Scott, in the chat, because I agree with you. But it does seem like it makes sense. It's also kind of like storytelling 101. You have the seemingly non-relevant intro that ends up actually being relevant to the rest of the story along the way. And if I'm frustrated by anything, again, it's like this feels like this is the perfect prologue to an amazing long story. But as far as I know, like, this is it, right? I don't know if we know if there's going to be anything continuing from this.
Well, sure.
And it makes you really wonder. Makes you really wonder. Me. Did you get the first appearance of some really cool things on a book that was only sold for $1, but it was only allowed to be sold for 24 hours?
Yeah, and that's perfect. That's perfect bad idea. I mean, that crew, here, hold my. I honestly think they all sat around together drinking beer. They got themselves good and buzzed, and they had themselves a drawing board. And when it came to the release of this special character, it was, here, hold my beer. I've got an idea. And they took turns until they realized, oh, that's a horrible idea. Let's do it.
Because last weekend would have been Free Comic Book Day.
Yes.
And so Free Comic Book Day's away. And so maybe having the $1 book, something like this, that's going to be all original, all brand new content, was something different for that. It's not a free comic, but hey, it's $1, and I mean, it's as good as any Image First I've seen. Right. So, for $1, I don't think it's wrong. And knowing that it would have been Free Comic Book Day, but they pushed that back a couple months. I think it was a smart move. And, but it was different. It was, I guess we'll get to more of the putting it out for 24 hours later. You guys got any more to add on to this one?
Oh, come on, man.
Here's the big question in my mind about, I think, both of these stories is this a story that came about because the creator said, I have an idea for an intro story for a much bigger story? Or did it come about because they said, I have this crazy idea for this one-off story that I don't really have anywhere else to put it or anything else to do with it. Like, which of those two is it? Is it just I've got this crazy idea for something that would make this really cool vignette of a story, but don't have any plans to keep going with it? Or is it, I have this plans to really plant the seed for something that I want to be bigger? I don't know which this is.
I think this, to me, it's one of those things where the first time I read it, I took the story at face value as a good story. I read it a couple more times, and we get to the apocalypse because of their last large victory that we see, which is the destruction of this monster, right? Or in this case, it's the destruction of this elemental witch. Then the apocalypse happens. We don't know what is all the apocalypse. I'm assuming it's mass death. But as you see, it could be a number of different things. But if this is an elemental witch who was in the water, everything looked like it was burnt or dried up. Could the death of this elemental witch have dried out this planet, Earth, this whatever, and had caused the apocalypse? And of course, looking for victories, Satan is looking for victories. Could he, by killing the witch, this elemental witch, cause the apocalypse? Of course, he doesn't see it, but in my mind, that's exactly where I went, because he went back a year, he went back 10 years, he did all this jumping, but the one thing that he didn't think of is, my victory caused this apocalypse.
That's an awesome idea. I love it.
That has been chewing on me, and I wanted to know what you guys think, because that I'm just like, I see all these connections, and knowing that this is a preview, I guess, or a prequel to go into the lot, that kind of, you see that setting and you think to yourself, this is a horror movie and blah, blah, blah. But where does this witch fit in with that story? And it's the only thing I can come up with is somehow when she died in this universe or in this world, she was pushed or moved into this other world where it is the lot. And we're going to learn, I hope, in that miniseries, we're going to learn a ton about this whole horror, scary, I don't know, I'm looking forward to it. If it does truly, in fact, involve this witch. I could be completely wrong. This would be for a different story down the line, but she's one of the first images, I think, well, not one of, she's probably the third or fourth large image that we saw about involving characters. One of them was the two prints on this shoulder here that I have over my shoulder. Those two, and third, fourth, something like that, involved this face, or at least a face like this.
And is there any connection to the old Odin's Eye with the future of a book that has been talked about but not talked about, like just on little media things here and there?
Yeah, I could see a connection there to Odin's Eye.
Interesting. So now I guess this is the big question. What do you guys think? Is all this tied together, or are we just kind of like making connections that aren't there?
I don't know, man.
Right.
It's one of those things where you see little things and you're like, there's the connection. But who knows? We haven't been told yet. We just don't know. And that's what's so, I think the lack of information is what is making the people who really love it really go after it, because you just don't know. And they're not telling anybody. They're not letting anything slip. I mean, this isn't like the Valiant days where the first 6 pages you got to read for free. And you can tell you got a good flavor of the story. And usually, like Exo, I think there was maybe 2 pages. By the time Exo Manowar came out with Matt Kindt, there might have been 2 or 3 pages that we didn't see in some type of preview.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, everybody's chomping at the bit, wanting to know what's coming next. And there's nothing out there. There is, I mean, you get this. You get this face. That's it.
Yeah. And I guess the big thing is the hope of it, right? And I think that's kind of what I was saying on Pizza Hank Howard is you would hope that there's more to it, and that just makes it all the better. But it doesn't necessarily take away from it the fact that there's not, even if there is not. But it reminds me a little bit of go back to the MCU. Marvel first came out, Iron Man, you know what I mean? You got a couple of them. And when you started seeing the Easter eggs of the shared universe in the movies, the very end where Thor's hammer is set out in the middle of New Mexico and they're coming after to find it. And you're like, oh my God, they're going to have a Thor movie. And then, you start seeing Nick Fury show up in these things, trying to get the Avengers together. It was just that excitement of seeing the Easter eggs come together is fun. And knowing that there's already been some Easter eggs here and there. I mean, we've already seen Greenleaf Oil in a hero trade type of B story. Hopefully we're going to keep seeing some more little Easter eggs as they grow. And, to be a shared universe would be awesome. And it would almost be sad if it wasn't, because how great Dinesh and Warren are at orchestrating this. And I mean, all the people credit Josh and Hunter as well, just how all they are orchestrating this. And especially when you got Kindt and Venditti kind of, doing a bulk of the story so far. Yeah. When more comes and, and then there's some more stuff too, that to see coming, that's been leaked a little bit is just nothing but excitement on my end. What about you? What are you thinking here, Sean?
I'm always a little cautious when it comes to making connections, because I think continuity is a double-edged sword in some ways, because it can add a lot of excitement to a book, but it can also add a lot of frustration and pain and confusion as fans when things don't seem to quite work out as tightly as we would want. And so generally my approach is to take continuity and connections as a positive only, that when I see them, I enjoy them for what they are and I let them add to the book. But if it is something that feels like it's drawing away from the story in some way, where I feel like, well, this isn't quite how this was shown in this other book, so it doesn't make sense to me, I just ignore that, because I feel like that doesn't serve me in my enjoyment of the book. So I guess I play cautious optimism towards interconnection, because I also don't know if they're making these books with the ideas of, well, let's throw out these Easter eggs about things being connected just for the fun of it, because, hey, wouldn't it be awesome to put this Greenleaf Oil sign in this other book? Because then it's like, hey, look, they're in the same, and that would be really fun. And just doing it as a kind of throwaway fun thing without necessarily the intention of building it up and with the intention of it being this large tapestry, or are they being very deliberate and careful? And the nature of the stories, which is that they seem like just fun stories that these creators want to tell, that range from crazy spy stuff to the hero trade stuff, which is just bizarre superhero, like underworld of the superhero world stories. Like all these things don't feel like they're connected. They feel more like these are meant to be standalone, I just want to create a cool story type of stories. So for that reason, I'm kind of hesitant to draw connections. But I guess I don't know. Cautious optimism, I think, is my approach.
And that's good. And I think Moose and I on the last hero trade had some really good parallels, but not parallels to comics, more along parallels of the real world and recent events that may have happened in 2018, the beginning of, to be more exact, and the deconstruction of superheroes and certain ones. But I guess let's score up save now. I don't know what order we want to go. I'll kick this one off. Art. Diego, or Tomas Giorello, I love. I've already talked about that cover story. This one, I'm going to be. It's done everything it's supposed to do. I am super excited for whatever's next to it. I am, absolutely amped. It is one that I'm gonna, when we get another section of these characters out again, I'm gonna be pumped to be reading these stories. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5, leaning towards 4.75, but I'm gonna say 4.5. And like I said, it did everything that I think it was supposed to do, and it was very well done all the way around. So.
Yeah, for me, art was beautiful. I loved it, crisp, clean, solid 4.5. And story, yeah, it's maybe I'm diving into something way off the beaten path, but I can see how this sets up other books, or at least books that I think are intertwined with this, which is great because I want to solve the riddle. I want to play with it, dig with it. Every little corner of everything. It's fun. It really gets me into the book. So I really, in my mind, I want more, and it is a solid, almost 4.75, 4.5 easy across the boards for me on this book.
Good.
So I really like this a lot. I feel like this just did so much in so little space. The art was fantastic. The writing was fantastic and conveyed so much in such a short amount of time. It's hard for me to imagine a much better story that is this short. So I got to go with 5 out of 5 hot melting witch tamos for this one.
Absolutely, that is awesome. And this makes me like almost wish this is something I've heard Dinesh talk about, is that anthologies don't work. People don't buy them. This was kind of something showing that a certain type and form of an anthology could work. This was short, quick stories in and out. Done in little real estate, but so very well done. They leave it all to awesomeness. Speaking of awesomeness, this is one that I cannot wait. Just a little Louis LaRosa megalith art. I saw these and I was like, I have to kind of post these just because it doesn't get much better than that. All the way around, that when these are put together, and I still go back and forth if I love Louis is black and gray. His gray work is so amazing. But when you add color on it, when it's somebody like Diego Rodriguez doing the color, it's just phenomenal work. This one's probably the one when it first happened. I think you have the poster behind you there, Moose, that just so phenomenal. And there's I believe it's Kindt as well, right? Megalith.
Yeah.
This is one that it's just, how can you not be excited for what Bad Ideas got coming?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I want to know so much about this story. If in fact anything ties in with this, what this means for the future of Bad Ideas. I mean, we get past all these books. It's not like they're going to stop and say, okay, thanks for coming to the party, guys. Thanks for coming and drinking my beer. No, there's going to be more. And this is only building into something that's going to be more twisted and keep you guessing, keep you on your toes, keep you excited. So I'm really looking forward to this stuff. Man.
It's awesome to be excited for a book that we know nothing about, right? just from a few pages of art that look phenomenal. It's fun to be excited about comics again and excited about something coming up that I'm just like amped for. And this is really amping me up.
Yeah. And there's something about creators and creatives and the people that work behind it that have earned your trust to know very little about something and to be like, I'm pumped for it. I know who you are. I know what you're going to produce. And, you failed me very little, but you've usually paid through and you usually come through on that trust. And so that's what leaves me excited for it is that, not to mention seeing Louis's art is just, drop dead gorgeous work. But knowing what Kindt's going to do, knowing the creative, the back end stuff with Carl Bowlers, with Warren and with, all of them, they're going to pay true to that trust. So,
well, and it really helps that the creatives know each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, all these combinations, as we said earlier, have written books together, and maybe minus Lapham, has been involved with each other for a while. So they're all very, very familiar. And so I think it even adds to background and setting up things that are just much more dense. You know, something like having a hamburger, but chewing on it like it's water taffy. You get what I'm trying to get at? If you're like, oh, this ain't going down.
I don't know what kind of hamburgers you're eating. So,
hamburgers made of water taffy. That's what I'm
right.
But no, it keeps you wanting a little more. It's fantastic.
And so, Moose, you had a little bit of theories off of some things that we had talked about in the past, and I think that's some good fun stuff to talk about, especially with Sean here, because I know Sean's probably got some theories running around.
Yeah.
And,
so, Sean,
and that's what makes it fun. Let's hear it.
I wrote this down. I want to harken back to one of not the first cover, because the first ENIAC cover that we saw was, I do believe, what's over my shoulder. I keep using my hand. This one right there.
It looks like you're in the computer. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like you're, somehow seeing out from the computer or the eyes of the computer. But the second one we saw was what looked like a scientist or something that was possibly bonding with a computer. Had wires going in and out, like shock.
Oh, yeah.
The Edison motors and everything, yeah.
Since we first saw that picture, we have not seen it. It's been a ghost. It's not around. So that, coupled with what Hoosier and I were talking about last week with the black eyes, the possibility of ENIAC possibly controlling Fletcher and just mentally training her. And you saw the flashbacks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good job. Bad job. You suck.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only time that she's getting positive reinforcement is when she's having an interaction with the computer for most of her entire life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's even told that she's dirty and really bad by her girlfriend, at the time, which, pluses and minuses there.
That seemed more like a compliment in the situation. But,
but so in my mind, as I started putting it together, my mind started going round and round. We're getting ready to get ENIAC 4 here coming down the pike. And what keeps popping into my head is that image of the scientist merging, but it's not going to be the scientist. Could it be Fletcher that merges with ENIAC to create one of our, if this is a combined universe somehow, some way, that creates one of our superheroes / supervillains? If this is going to be superhero based. And in my mind, it kind of is leaning that way, especially after getting and reading Saver and being introduced to the witch. So could it be that ENIAC merges with Fletcher, leading off by the black eye and trained to respond to positive reinforcement from a computer? Where does your mind go with that? Now that I've said all that I've said, do you see it that way? Do you see it differently?
So everything you said, what it makes me think of, and this is probably a result of me reading a lot of Isaac Asimov recently and reading all of his robots books, is that if this is coming down to merging between the robot and the human, is ENIAC trying to create a new life form that is somehow a combination of what ENIAC is on one side and what humans are on the other side? And so has Fletcher been one of his long-term prospects to then make this happen?
There we go.
Because one of my theories is that all of this story is leading to is to try to get Fletcher in contact with ENIAC. That is ENIAC's long game. And that has been what he's been trying to do all along, is somehow get her where she is now, with the all the little holes on the wall, with the braids and the little analog computer whammy dammy collar that she got from Andronikov and all that. That seems like what ENIAC is all about, and ENIAC doesn't seem like he's all about destroying the world to me.
No, I don't think it's going to be a nuclear. No, I don't see that.
that totally seems like a bait and switch to me. And that has the whole time, because why would he have a countdown? He's like, right? You don't warn him, I'm going to kill you really, really soon. There's nothing you do really soon, like any day now, it's going to happen. Like, no, he would just do it if that's what ENIAC was going to do. And look, I just called him a he, and I shouldn't have, because he's an it. Yeah. So that he can get to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you in that aspect. There's a reason that she's there. There's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to know what that reason is.
Well,
me too.
ENIAC is 100 steps ahead of everything and sees a lot larger game than others. It's further down the road, just like you saw the behavioral, traits of conditioning somebody to believe in certain things, like the way they had with Fletcher. I think it's just a huge long game, and that's the box itself is designed specifically for it. It's plugged, it's 100 steps ahead. It knows exactly what's happening. But what's the end game? What's the long play still, even though it's been playing a really, really long play because it had Fletcher's mom from a long time ago, is just so deep in the ability to really expand. That's what's nice on it. I would really hope and pray, and I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, that ENIAC, or this story within what ENIAC is not just necessarily a 4-issue mini and we're done and we don't come back to it. I'm so hoping that there's because it's such a great base, it's such a good foundation for, even if it's just contained in its own title, it's got such a great foundation to continue to go off of it, that I'm hoping that we're not just at 4 issues here. And we get tons more to go, because at the end of this month we are getting ENIAC number 4, next month, beginning of next month. So, yeah.
In a way, I'm kind of excited about the idea of it being just a 4-issue series, in that I feel like it's going to come to a very concrete end, and I always like that in stories. Even if it does continue eventually, I like stories that leave me feeling satisfied at the end, where I feel like, okay, I got an ending. Like at the end of, you were talking about all those nuggets at the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but when Endgame finally came out, and I felt like I finally got an ending to a Marvel movie that didn't feel like it was just like more like, there's another one, there's more. It was so satisfying. And I am looking forward to getting that satisfaction in a story from this.
Yeah. In that same realm, how'd you feel the end of Star Wars?
I wasn't a fan. That's all I'll say. I don't really want to.
No, no, I'm completely on board with you, because when I'm watching certain shows and you get that very last 30 seconds and it's like, oh my God, you just dropped that on us. Now I have to binge watch the next episode. It's a love-hate. It's a love-hate, right? I do like having the complete ending, but I also like having the just give me a little bit more. Like, I still want a little bit more. And then at times, like I said, we do regret it when we ask for, episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then later 7, 8, 9. It's, as much as we love it, we sometimes are good with episode 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, I'm all down with the ending where we think ENIAC's destroyed, and then it's all resolved, and then there's the very last page of ENIAC laying there and opening its eyes. And, I'm all good with those kind of awesome it's leaving the room, the door open for more type of things.
Or ENIAC's dead. And then on a cell phone in the corner, another countdown.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go.
There's Kane.
So
yes,
with ENIAC, the thing I keep going back to is this is all the way back, in the first issue, when ENIAC was first talking to poor Ned, the scientist that programmed him. They were trying to do good in the world. ENIAC was I don't think we should compute this, because if we make this bomb, it's going to be really, really bad for the world. So I really don't think you should make me do this. ENIAC was good intentioned from the very beginning. But then they programmed him with all this information about the history of mankind. They had that whole like warehouse of people that were inputting all this information into ENIAC. And the question that I have is, did that change ENIAC somehow from good-natured approach, or did it just like, did he lose his thought that we need to stop bad things from happening, or did he say, no, humanity, like go all Matrix, humanity is a virus and they need to be wiped out? Yeah. That's what I feel like is still unresolved with ENIAC as a character. Is he still his original good-natured self, or was he turned to the dark side with information?
You know, I hear what you're saying, but I've always kind of felt like, you know, I don't want to say mama bear, but he is the Matt Kindt incarnate, if you will. Matt always writes about knowledge, whether it be protection of knowledge, the search for knowledge, the protection of knowledge, all those things. ENIAC is knowledge. And while I do agree with you that he thinks human beings are cockroaches, I don't think this is going to be a Holocaust, because they never, after the first two, he took over Russia's nukes and he hasn't fired a nuke in the entire story, right?
Right.
So even at the height of the Cold War in the 80s, where we had ungodly amounts of nukes in our world, in that world, he still had access to all that and could have just killed everybody right then. So I still think he thinks we're cockroaches, but I still think that he's got to be Mother Bear, where he's protecting the humans from doing stupid things to each other, because we'll just destroy the world.
Yeah.
See, what I wonder with that, though, is what's in it for ENIAC to do that. That's the piece that is missing for me, is for any of this, what's in it for ENIAC? What does ENIAC want? Nobody asked what I want. Nobody has asked, well, what does ENIAC want? And that, I think, is a really interesting question, because it seems like ENIAC wants something.
Well, he wants Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He wants Fletcher there, and I'm telling you that it's going to be the preservation of knowledge. He's going to keep all that knowledge, and I don't know what he's going to do with it, honestly, but something's going to happen. He's going to keep the knowledge. I still think that he's going to somehow merge with Fletcher, but that's just me. I'm sticking to my guns. That's my theory.
Yeah, I dig it, and you do a great job of calling back a lot of like Matt's stories and the overarching themes to them. Like I'm going to Divinity, right? And just the staircase of knowledge and books that is in eternity. It's just so well thought out, and it's so well just deep. Right. And so there's a lot to it. And so when you're looking at both of what you're saying, what does ENIAC want? What is ENIAC searching for? And how do they feel about the world? And who do they trust with it? Maybe they realize that, there's Earth is what it is, but eventually it's going to tear itself up. But who can they give that power to, that knowledge to, that is a person, that is skin, that is a bag of bones, and that might do good for it, that might I don't know, there's a lot. Like, God, next month come around right now in ENIAC 4 and answer all of these questions, and that's the old saying is final four, like let's final issue, right? Are you going to stick it, right? Are we going to get the payoff? Are we going to get the resolution of this story? And how much of that's going to be pushed out to us? So, yeah.
The way I feel after reading the third issue is that this story has just been accelerating and accelerating and accelerating. And we don't know what it's accelerating to quite yet, but it has very much been accelerating. Because after the first issue, I was kind of like, okay, it just seems like a whatever spy espionage book, kind of with an interesting backstory. And then the second issue added a little more twist to it. And then the third issue added even more twisting to it. and it's just been accelerating and accelerating and accelerating. So yeah, I am very excited to see what it's all moving to.
Perfect. Yeah. And then hopefully we get a little bit more of the hero trade at the back of that again, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
that's
absolutely.
I liked the last one. I believe that was the first hero trade, and yeah, we brought up a lot of this deconstruction of the superhero, of
Literally?
the literal, but
It's
the
bad idea.
yeah.
Say kind of giving the world, this is what we think of your superhero. We're going to dissect it, cut it up, and we're going to sell it to the highest bidder because that's not our model.
Right, and it's still going to barely be alive, right?
Yeah.
It's still going to be there,
Yeah,
but
we can
you've
come back
already
to it
cut
if
the
you want
legs
to.
off of them. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, that is quite the metaphorical take.
Yeah.
Because go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, like I said, I think I said, it's the middle finger. I think, honestly, it's the middle finger to this idea of a superhero universe. And maybe it's pointed at a specific company, but pointed at all companies that you're quote unquote superhero.
But at the same time, it's very much rooted in superheroes. So it's also this sense of we can't escape that at the same time, this world. And the hero trade seems to be all about like the seedy underbelly of the superhero world that we don't see in the bright, shiny, swinging from the skyscraper world of superheroics. And that's what I enjoy about it, is it's like all the ways that superheroics can go wrong and how actual people would interact with superheroics when in the unnoble ways that people would interact with superheroics if it were to actually exist.
Yeah, to a degree, and that's it. I've heard that the different take of The Boys, right? A different take on The Boys within if superheroes were really in the world, what's more of a real life, connection that it would have on this? What would be misused? What would be taken advantage of? What would be, who would want to try to get their hand in the pie a little bit, and get a little bit more out of it from their end. So,
yeah.
Oh man, well, I have to say I'm pumped up for the bad idea and everything bad ideas got going. I encourage you guys, check out Overthinking the Bad, and there's a link down in the description below for that, and check out a bunch of the stuff Sean's producing out there. It's some good stuff, good laughs, good knowledge, good all the way around. So wish you all of that, and then follow Sean over at Bad Deacon.
Well, thank you. This was awesome to join you here. I had a blast, and you guys totally switched my perspective on a few things, which I love. I love when that happens. So fantastic job.
And you know what? We're probably wrong on 100% of it, but at least it got the brain working.
Oh, we're all wrong, right? I'm sure we're all 100% wrong.
Totally expect to be wrong. I totally expect for people to point me out that I'm wrong. I really, if I am wrong, please do. I don't,
Hey, you gotta aim for the stars if you want to reach the sky. That's what I say. Right. So go big with those theories.
But if you are right, you could get in the mic and be like,
I told you so. That was me.
That's always the best part.
It is. Yeah, and then just excited. ENIAC number 4, Tankers number 2, that's coming out soon. Make sure you're on all the World Wide Webs and follow, subscribe, all the good stuff all the way around. Any other taking parts for you two gentlemen? No. Man.
Just antsy, man. Antsy. What am I? I'm gonna chew my nails.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Don't. That's gross. that's
my dentist says that's bad. Yeah. You all have.
Oh no.
We have to finish that. What was that, Sean? He won't have what?
Oh, you won't have teeth as nice as that the lovely lady on the cover of Safe Now.
Yes.
If you choose fingernails.
but you might get that upper lip.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. There you go.